Hey Pisces, it's Empress Rose here. Welcome to your reading. These are general readings. Take what works, yada, 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 leave what doesn't. And if I don't catch your storyline here, check your other major placements. And we're starting off with the Oracle decks, Work Your Light and Urban Crow, and then we'll move on to a more traditional tarot spread with the Tarot of Mystical Moments. If you haven't already, do hit that subscribe button. It makes me happy, but more than that, it also helps other people find the channel and these messages. Funny thing about the Work Your Light and the Urban Crow Oracle is they have these opposite energies, which are kind of fascinating. I'm gonna take, and you know, Work Your Light is obviously pastels and light, and Urban Crow is Seattle overcast crows. So I already got quite a bit of Work Your Light, a whole little paragraph, Work Your Light. Let's see if Urban Crow is anything else. I think that'll be enough for that. All right, Pisces. Work Your Light had lots to say here. Okay. Whoa, if you have a yes or no question, now would be the time to formulate it. So let's start with Acacia. Your guidance is divinely guided. So to me, this card always means that there might be something in this reading where you're like, nah, no, nope, that's not. So I always say, you know, take what works, leave what doesn't. But this is a red, yellow flag here saying, wait, there might actually be something here that you don't think resonates, but does, or that you need to hear, even if you don't immediately acknowledge that. So that's what that card always means to me, is paying attention to this reading. Something here you may need to hear, even if you don't want to hear it, or something like that. So paying extra attention to some part, especially the parts where you're feeling resistance, where you're like, no, and something inside you goes, what? So just paying attention to that. I'm not saying it has to be, you know, correct, but I'm just saying that's something to pay attention to, that resistance that you're seeing, or that you might feel to any part of this message, and to explore that. It's coming to your attention for a reason. This is interesting. All right. Then we have, okay, share your voice. Time to come out of the cave. There might have been something that you've kept to yourself. You've kept a secret, and it's time to share it. Maybe you have, you know, dealt with rejection or something like that, and you've hidden yourself away. You don't want to put yourself out there again, but this is saying now is the time to say something that's on your mind, to emerge from a shadow, to you know, share something that you need to share, that you feel is right to share, come out of the cave, persecution, expression. So you may have felt hurt by something and retreated, and now it's time to emerge. It may have been a little bit of a rough going, and sometimes, you know, discretion is the better part of valor. Sometimes if there's some sort of tumult in our life, sometimes receding and not engaging with that for a while we catch our breath, our perspective, all of that can be really good. So it's not that you shouldn't have receded and that you shouldn't have kept whatever you needed to keep to yourself. It's that it might be time to talk about it right now. At least consider sharing something, maybe something you've worked on, maybe an artwork or writing or something like that. But it's time to express something that you have previously kept hidden and kept to yourself. You were not wrong to do that. It was, but now is a time to really consider possibly communicating that. Answer the call. What is your soul calling you to do? So I like how both of these are sort of sitting back in contemplation, but being called forward, moving into something, moving from a place of thinking, a place of contemplation, a place of rumination and gathering, maybe even gathering your intuition. That sounds funny, but like maybe getting in touch with your intuition or something like that. So both of these depict sort of a receding from something and a need to move forward now. Your soul calling you forward, your soul calling you to share, your soul, your heart really wanting to share something and move forward. So what is your soul calling you to do? And it's time to express that and share that and get moving on that, and not hide it away. It's like there's this time of rest has gone on long enough, and it is time to emerge from that time of rest and retreat and start expressing yourself again. Then we have 2 cards here that kind of match and kind of don't match. They have mirroring. That's the thing here. Mirroring and mirroring. So we have soul family here calling in your tribe. You don't have to do it alone. So there's somebody here that wants to support you, that wants to help you and engage in a mutually satisfying and beneficial relationship where both of you experience mutual support and experience joy from the connection, and the shared burden of existence, of survival here. So sharing that burden with people around you, allowing people to support you and to help you as you need that, as you need, and being able to do that again for others. So there is like a mirroring, something reciprocated, something matching, energies matching, and that I like how together they're creating 2 sort of yogi prayer positions here, with their hands like that. It's like that spiritual connection, supportive. I want to say namaste, the divine in me, recognizing the divine in you with your soul family. So it might be time to reach out to somebody that you have receded from, that you have not connected with. It might be time to reach out with a hope, at least, or a desire for mutual support and mutual taking joy in each other's joys and supporting each other through the difficult times. So there might be something that's calling you forward to engage with that. So illusion here also deals with sort of a mirroring behavior. So that's one of the things we can get from here. But something isn't quite real. You might be angry at something that's not angry at you. You might be frustrated with someone that's not frustrated at you. You might have projected something onto somebody that isn't necessarily real. So checking in with ourselves, that maybe some of our assumptions about people or some of the ways that maybe we retreated to this cave, but we retreated from something that perhaps was only in our mind, perhaps was only a fear that we had. So I'm going to read illusion because to me it's one of her more complex cards. In his book, John Marslove tells the story of a bird named Hitchcock who had a fight to pick with another raven. However, that bird was its reflection in a visitor center window. This caused Hitchcock a great deal of frustration. Illusion is similar to the moon card in the tarot. We see what we want to see to make sense of the story we created in our mind. Is your interpretation match reality? Are you acting in an illusion? So I would say it's not that you saw what you wanted to see. You saw what you expected to see. You interpreted what you were seeing in a way that may have been habitual to your mind, a habit that you created that may not have been what the other person meant or what their motivation was in doing that. You may have interpreted something. So the accurate interpretation is this is a reflection of me. The inaccurate, and that's what a lot of life is our Rorschach blotch. It's just a giant Rorschach blotch where we project onto it our own interpretations. And sometimes, people did things that contributed to that, and sometimes they didn't do anything to contribute to that. And that was our projection, and we just were up in our heads and made up a whole story about this that we apparently may have failed to check in with reality on and make sure that was real. So there may be people around you that really do want to support you, and you may be telling yourself a story that they don't. You may have retreated out of fear, a sense of persecution, when perhaps you were not. So this illusion isn't to gaslight you and say that your troubles weren't your troubles, but it is a call to sort of at least be open. Oh yeah, this card, Acacia. Be open to re-examining something. Be open to revisiting who said what exactly, and really analyzing that and looking at that, and not being very careful to double check that accuracy and double check that this isn't something you've made up, something you've created in your own mind. So maybe this crow needs to tap on that mirror and realize that it's a mirror, it's not a crow. So mentally doing maybe some cognitive stuff where you're, what actually happened? What do I believe about that? And I forget, what's the consequence? What's the consequence? Where do I end up emotionally by interpreting that way? And then debating with yourself. So that illusion card is here to let you know to double check, go back and double check some things. And look for accuracy and not necessarily the story that you may have gotten very attached to. So if you have your yes or no question handy in mind, let us move forward. You can pause now if you would like to formulate one, but the answer is no. Wait, postpone, pause, say no. So something here you should not be going. This is really funny because you've got time to share your voice, time to answer the call, and then you've got pause, no. So I don't know what you asked. You'll know more about what this card is specifically about. But it's not. It's a bit of just hold off. It's not, no, this will never happen, whatever you asked, whatever you had in mind. No, this will not happen. It's just there's been a delay. Like there's a storm. We're not going directly into the storm. We're not doing that. And then there's a pyramid there's just going to be some difficulty if we keep heading in the direction that we're heading. So this is sort of a back up. We may need to hold up here for a while till something clears, maybe even our mind, maybe even our perception of something, especially if we're in an illusion state. Where we're, projecting our stuff onto the little Rorschach blotch of the world, it would be a really great time to pause and rethink something and revisit something. Which is interesting because it's also about share your voice, answer the call. So those are all moved forward, and then we have this pause. So you may just have to pause and clear up some illusion. You don't have to do it alone. You can find help. There's lots of help available. Lots of people have devoted their entire careers and lots of money to careers that help people, and they want to help. They're eager to help, and they've invested in their continuing education and all of that to help. So you can think, if you're hesitant to ask for help, you can think like, well, I wouldn't want their education to go to waste, so I will go seek out a therapist. If you need to trick yourself like that. All right, Pisces. This is your past, your present, your inner landscape. What's at issue, your environment, your to-do list, and your possible outcome. Goodness, this looks familiar. I feel like I just did this reading, some parts of it. Capricorn. Yes, this looks like the Capricorn reading. Here we have in your recent past the Five of Cups. This is grief. There has been some sort of grief, some sort of loss that has happened. Lost time, lost affection, lost attention, lost relationships, the general whole gamut of losses this life has for us to experience here, and to learn from and to grow from and to build on. But that doesn't mean that they don't suck. So there's a flow of life. We can't cross the same stream twice, is what the way Welz-Stein depicts this, is this flow. She's sort of knee deep in, I feel like, a river of tears here. She's very much focused on the blossoms that have fallen, on what's been lost, on what's been fallen in this flow. Nothing will be the same again. And so there's still there's still these blossoms right here. We can pay attention to them when we're ready. We don't need to rush the grief process. We don't want to get trapped in the grief process, but we also don't need to rush through it. And, you know, it's take your time. This may have been what caused you to retreat, is some sort of grief, some sort of sadness, where that, you know, it can be even things that aren't ever going to be able to happen. Like the time for that is past. So this is, I did just see 444 for people that like those numbers. So this is, I don't usually see them while I'm doing this. So when I do, it's something I tend to pay attention to. So this is a grief process. Something's been lost. It cannot be recovered. It cannot be returned. We cannot, you know, cross the same stream twice. We also can't cross the stream. Oh my God, I'm going to stop now. So anyway, grief process, and we've been really in it and feeling it and going through it. So, some sadness. And there's also, to me, a sense of a passage of time here. And the losses that accumulate with time. I kind of feel sad when I see babies sometimes. I mean, I love babies so much, but also it's just like, wow, there is so much loss you are going to be experiencing. Whew, a whole lifetime ahead of you. It's just going to keep coming. There'll be joys too, but those losses, they keep flowing. And so that's a very cynical, sad way to feel about babies. But sometimes the thought arises and it's there, and you just roll with it. I don't tell the baby that. They know what they're in for. In your current situation, you have the Moon card, which I really love, because this is how Cullinane was talking about this card. I'm not sure I agree with her interpretation, but of her own card, but, or no, of the Moon card. But this is, you know, things coming to light, things we didn't see, things we didn't know about, things we didn't understand from the past, all coming to light and emerging and learning about things. The Moon card also deals with subconscious issues coming up, and starting to understand how those may have affected you, how those may have played into some of the decisions you made and some of the losses you might have accumulated. The Moon card also talks to me about intuition and untamable parts of ourselves. I think the parts of ourselves we just have to accept, and aren't really tameable, aren't really, no amount of meditation is going to change that part. So, you know, and not that we meditate to change, we meditate to get in touch, but there are things that we might want to change and shift. And the Moon card kind of has a sense of revealing the things that aren't going to be shifted. It reminds me of relationships, really long-term relationships, where you're like at first everything's great, and then you have these problems, but all the little problems are kind of easy to fix, kind of easy to do. It also reminds me of washing dishes. You know, you wash your cups first because they're easy to do and usually less greasy and less gross. And there's like the whole, I don't know if you guys take home ec, but we had home ec. And there's this whole methodology of the order in which you wash your dishes, so that you're not dirtying cleaner dishes, all of that. So anyway, the Moon card reminds me of that. All that to say, there are things that are easier to sort of like, oh, this is an easy conflict to fix, or this is an easy. And then at the end of the day, there's just these ones that are just there, and these parts of ourselves that are just there, that we're not necessarily particularly fond of, don't necessarily have like a great place in the world, and aren't necessarily welcomed with open arms by either ourselves or our loved ones. And so, and relationships have those too, those naughty parts that aren't really going to budge very easily and might never budge. So you just come to some sort of acceptance and peace with that. So this Moon card right here, for whatever reason, is showing me that there's something about starting to understand something, maybe about yourself, maybe about a situation or relationship, and making peace with that part that that's not changeable, the part that is just the essence of what is, and the essence of what's going on here. So again, the moon card does though talk about illusion, talk about the things being hidden, the reality being hidden behind sort of some sort of intuition. And to me, the moon card also talks about the revelation of that and starting to understand that and starting to grasp. I think here, like where your own issues have held you back, where your own subconscious issues have created some of the issues that you've faced. This whole top row is super hard energy. Super hard energy. Our bottom row is looking better though, so maintain hope. In your hopes, your fears, your inner landscape, Five of Swords. You're contemplating a decision, a choice. This is a place of difficult choices. There's no easy way out. There's no easy way forward. Any decision you make here, you're going to have some regret. So this is something that you might be afraid of, getting into a situation where you're stuck in a win-lose proposition where you cannot there's no clear winner as for the decision. It's just like, all right, what are you going to do? You might have to end up hurting someone to save yourself. You might end up having to hurt yourself to preserve someone else. And every situation is different, and the history of every situation comes into play here as well. So you may be contemplating and thinking about and worried about getting into a no-win situation, getting into some sort of situation where it's hurt or be hurt, where you've got to decide if you're going to be the windshield or the bug this time. No one's getting out of here, out of the situation unscathed. Some of these situations, there's no clean way out as far as, I mean, most of the situations are like, we can come up with compromises and mostly win-win solutions, but the Five of Swords speaks to a situation in which there's not a win-win solution, and the sooner you accept that, the better that is. So this is something that's weighing on your mind, that you're thinking about. Do you save face, or do you solve the problem? Do you humiliate? How much humiliation are you willing to put up with here versus getting your needs met? I mean, just the balance here isn't on the side of a win-win solution. It's on the side of a win-lose. So you could be very worried about getting into a situation again in the future where you have to sacrifice too much of yourself in order to get what you need, or you have to hurt someone else in order to get what you need, where there's just not going to be a good option. So this is something that could have motivated some of your decisions, is avoiding situations because you're worried that you might end up having to make difficult choices, or not just that they're difficult, but like they're, damaging to yourself. It's like you're not getting out of this situation unscathed. So you're going to have to pick your scathe here. So that's what the Five of Swords speaks to. That's worrying you. Some sort of either real situation like that is worrying you, or you're worried about getting into a situation where that's what, I mean, clearly you've experienced this in the past. So you could be worried about stepping back into a situation where there just doesn't seem to be a lot of good options here. In your, what's at issue here? We have this reverse 10 of Wands. So the 10 of Wands in the upright would be you coming to a place where you realize that you have to put this burden down, where something isn't working for you at all, and you have to put it down. So you could be, so this is what you want, and this is all the shit people gave to you, and all the shoulds that people piled onto you. But in order to get what you want, you're going to have to put these burden down. So the 10 is, it's done, it's over. The 10 of reverse could be the burden is being lifted off of your back. You don't need to make any sort of action, any sort of moves. It's being lifted off your back. It could also be you, in a way, clinging to some sort of burden, some sort of responsibility, some sort of should, out of a sense of obligation, out of a sense of should, that should is way deep in your head. Way really of what you should be doing is way deep ingrained, and it's preventing you from even being able to consider sloughing off these shoulds that others have put on you to get what you want. So there could be a sense of codependency here that is prolonged, and even though you may have reached a point where you could put that burden down, where you could release yourself of all the shoulds that have been laid on you, you did not. It could also be that the situation is just changing, and maybe you're not even adjusting very well to like, wait, I don't have this burden. Wait, I don't have to do this anymore. Oh my gosh, I don't have to do this. It's like when I got laid off and realizing I'm back to work clearly, but when I got laid off and realizing that I didn't necessarily need a really strict to-do list or schedule for my day, you know, it was a hard adjustment. It's like, wait, I don't need to have this burden anymore, but it was hard for me to let it go, but good overall. So you may be having a hard time letting the burden slough away. It's letting go of something that wants to go. You could be preventing that somehow with these subconscious issues here. In your environment, you have temperance. Time has healed all wounds. Time has gone by. Not all wounds. I mean, we have this grief process here, but there's been an adjustment period. Time has helped soften some blows, soften this grief, soften this adjustment. You've gotten used to something in your environment. And so I think that's just time. Time has passed. Time has gone on in your environment, and there's something, it's flowed on, and it sort of softened some things and adjusted some things and helped you adjust to some things and get used to some ideas here. In your to-do list, the potential for growth, greatest growth for you, and what you're looking to interact with is this Two of Pentacles. This is juggling things. This can also be negotiating. Negotiations between, you know, you're worried about a win-lose situation. This is about negotiation, juggling things, balancing different things. This is sort of a perpetual negotiation of parts of ourselves and parts of our lives that are never going to fully integrate. This reminds me of this moon card. These things that we're never going to fully adjust to, or never going to fully be able to control in ourselves or our relationships. So there's been some period of time, though, where you've gotten used to the idea that maybe these things can't really be combined and must be juggled and negotiated, and each one given its respect and time that it's due, and then the respect and time that's due. So the Two of Pentacles deals with, to me, with things that can't be blended or combined. The Temperance card blends and combines and allows us to have a gentler approach. But this Two of Pentacles deals with things that cannot be blended and combined and must be juggled. Must be juggled and negotiated. It's precarious, but you can do it. That's what the Two of Pentacles is. This may be difficult, this may be precarious, but you can do this. You can juggle these things, and you can successfully negotiate these varying things. But it's things that need to always be negotiated. We have the infinity sign here talking about the perpetual need to negotiate this, that we never get to a fully settled state. Temperance card talks about a fully settled state, but I think you're fully settled in the understanding that this will be a constant negotiation, and it's never going to be completely solved. The equation is never solved. And then where you're going is this Nine of Cups. This is being very proud of your emotional growth, being very proud of how you've grown and what you've achieved, and proud of where you're at, and proud of your emotional maturity. And in a way, wanting to be the winner. It's a very winning and satisfaction, a deep satisfaction coming to you, a sense of having won, maybe not an emotional contest, but having won maybe this emotional contest, maybe this conflict here, but having navigated something successfully and being proud of where you're at. All right, that was a lot of cards, so therefore that was a pretty long reading. And yeah, I hope you have a great week, Pisces.